All right, welcome to my now finished garage, and I figured I'd make a video on the ridiculous audio system I put in here. I get it, the garage is not like the discerning listening environment, and I'm putting really great equipment in a not so great box. Now, next step is going to be to acoustically treat this, so it will help quite a bit. But I listen to music and watch TV all the time out in the garage, and so I put a crazy system in here. Now I sell this stuff. You go to obsessedgarage.com and I put together garage packages, or I can help you design something like this if you wanted to go crazy. And so don't think too little of me when I tell you how much this stuff costs. I'm not hoping to share ego or anything. I just want to explain to you what things cost so you have a frame of reference. We'll kind of go through that each individual item and we'll add it up at the end here. But I just love great audio and I love the garage, and so why not put those two things together has been my philosophy. So let's jump into the speakers. So we'll talk about the speakers first and we'll kind of work our way around and show you the system. So this countertop is 18 feet wide. And so my speakers are roughly 17 feet from tweeter to tweeter, 17 and a half feet, 17 and a quarter feet, something like that. And so what I've done in the last 2 or 3 garages, I've set it up where I didn't have any center channel. And when you start to get 16, 18, 19, 20 feet apart, you kind of lose the effect of imaging. You lose a lot of it. And so if you're watching anything on the display, it gets kind of muffled, doesn't sound quite as good, even with some high-end equipment. And so in this garage, I decided I wanted to do a center channel. And since I'm doing a center channel, I might as well do surrounds because I have to do a receiver in order to do the center channel. I can't just do like an integrated amplifier, a DAC or something like that. I'm going to need that center channel amplification, the center channel processing Dolby Digital and DTS. So once you go to there, we might as well add the extra couple of rear speakers. So it adds a whole lot of extra wiring, a whole lot of extra expense to go with surround in the garage. I'm not going to put a couch in here and watch a movie, so it's kind of dumb. But I wanted a center channel, and so if I'm going to do it, I might as well do the whole system. So the centerpiece of the system are these beauties. I love these speakers so much. I love them probably more than I should. I've been a Dynaudio fan since I was a kid. I actually sold home theater for 5 years when I was in college, and then when I graduated at Bryn Mawr Stereo that became Tweeter, and then I went to Worldwide Stereo for about 6 months, and then I moved to Orlando and worked at Sound Advice, and that's when a guy from Merrill Lynch found me, and I left the happy to chase the money. So probably a good move long term. But if I could go back and kick that 22-year-old, 24-year-old Matt, I probably would have said start a home theater business. I didn't, but now I kind of come full circle and I get to buy and sell this stuff. So these are a sort of a special edition Dynaudio speaker that they launched, I think probably 2 years ago now, and they're supposed to be special editions, but people keep buying them, so they keep making them. But this is a special edition. This is their new version of their Esotar tweeter. So this is Esotar 3, and then the sort of the 18-inch, their standard flagship woofer that they pull from the Confidence line, their highest end line of speakers. And they put together this sort of, what do they call this, like a parts bin speaker. Where they pull the best parts, the second order crossover. These are actually really inefficient speakers. They have a sensitivity of 85 decibels. An efficient speaker would be 91, 92, like a Klipsch or something like that. So they need a lot of power to sound as good as they can. So luckily I have a lot of power. But the walnut, I believe it's a walnut cabinet, special binding posts, the special Heritage Collection badge. But these I had in my office, and I just don't listen to music in my office, and I'm unwilling to give these up. This is like my version of a fancy watch that somebody buys, or my version of, I don't know, like a lady's purse that costs a fortune that becomes your favorite thing. So these are one of the favorite things I own. That and my E92 M3 are like two of the favorite sort of collectible things that I own. And if I have them, I want to use them, I want to experience them. And so I listen to music in the garage more than anywhere else, and so I sort of set this garage up around these speakers. I set the countertop height and the height of the cabinets for these speakers. And I wanted them at ear height. The base of this, the top of the countertop here is at 44¼ inches. I'm 6'2", so they're a tiny bit low for my standing listening height, but they're pretty decently positioned, I think. And then I have them decoupled from the countertop. Again, we're splitting hairs here. I'm in a garage. You can hear all that slap echo. It's not a good listening environment. The speakers are probably too far apart, but I like the fancy stuff, and so we're going to put some fancy speaker stands. These are isoacoustics, which I'm now a dealer for. So I don't have the Heritage Specials on our website, but I can get these for you. But these are the Aperta 200s and the largest version of the Apertas in this single speaker. There's 3 sizes, and then there's an extra large size, which would be like a rectangle type size. So this helps decouple and reduce vibration. So one thing I have coming, I'm going to do a couple of acoustics pairs here, a little bit of acoustic treatment here to help with that first reflection point of a metal cabinet. And then we're going to do a bunch of GIK acoustic stuff on the ceiling to help with the slap echo, and then I'll do some on the sidewalls as well. We'll do a separate video on that. It's going to be about $5,000 worth of acoustic treatments, so I've been kind of butt puckering about the concept of that. So 7-inch woofer, 1-inch tweeter, these 85 dB sensitivity, so they require some power to sound decent. And then we actually I ran some 12 gauge CI rated in-wall wire, and I'd made this little whip hose here, like 4 gauge wire. It's kind of stupid because I have 12 gauge wire running to the speaker. But we put our terminated binding posts behind here. I need to find some black ones so they match the rest, but sometimes if I'm working on something, I may just pop the speaker off and pull it out. So I wanted some banana plug type binding posts. Center channel is what's called a Contour 25 CI. So this is from the Contour line. So technically speaking, it doesn't timbre match our Heritage Specials, but it's as close as we get. They don't make the Heritage Specials are not really a surround sound speaker, so they don't make an exact matching center. But this has the same two woofers, so same 18 centimeter or roughly 7-inch woofers. And this is the Esotar 2i. So it's like the second iteration of the Esotar 2 tweeter. So technically speaking, the Heritage Specials have a superior tweeter than this does. But because of the level of the Heritage Specials, I wanted to somewhat timbre match, and so I bought this. Those are $7,000 for the pair. This was $4,250. So a lot more than I wanted to spend on the center channel. Comes with its own stand. I actually took the stand and flipped it around so that way the center channel has a slight angle pointing downward toward the listening area. Obviously, in a perfect world, you would take the center channel and I would put it down here. I don't want to put the center channel. This is like the prime real estate for my working area. So I'm making compromises. This is a garage. And so I guess in a perfect world, you'd have a perforated screen and your center channel will be right behind it, right? So the voice comes right out of the face of somebody on screen. We don't have that option here because I have a direct view display. And so the center channel up top, most of the time when I'm listening, I'm going to be somewhere out here. So makes sense. The sensitivity on that I think is like 86 decibels. So again, another inefficient speaker that is going to require some power to make work. So if I'm going to be doing these speakers and I'm going to want to get anything out of them, I'm going to have to give them some juice, give them some power. And to complete the system, these are from the Studio Series line of Dynaudio in-ceiling, their custom install line. So to continue timbre matching, they have not an Esotar woofer or tweeter, but one of the signature Silk Dome Dynaudio tweeters, and then an 8-inch woofer. So these are S4 C80s, and they're like 12 or 13 inches deep, so you got to have some room. So we actually had to cut the floor in the attic to give us some space. So we have the full center, left, right, and then the rear channels just to complete it. Kind of pointless. Oftentimes I'll be listening to like 5-channel stereo in here. Most of the time I'll listen to 2-channel stereo, but you know, I wanted to complete the system. So those are $899, they're $900 a piece. So $4,250, $7,000, and $899. You've got yourself like a dream home theater. But my dream is my garage, and so you know that's what I got. And then, just for the amplitude of this area, I didn't want to do 2 subwoofers would do better, and I've always do 2 subwoofers in the garage. But to get my cabinet array the way I wanted, I didn't have enough room to do a second subwoofer, and so this is ample. So a single core sub. This is from the professional line. I mean, sub to sub. So this is really made to go with their core studio monitor series. But this is 4 9-inch woofers, high excursion woofers, and a pretty stout Class D amplifier. I'm running XLR all the way across behind the cabinets into our cabinet in the corner. This corner loaded area actually sounds pretty good, so I don't have too many dead spots in the garage. It actually fills it pretty well. That's $4,000 for the center, or the subwoofer. So you can see I spent a ridiculous amount of money. Now remember, I'm a Dynaudio dealer, so I get to demo this stuff. I get to buy it. They're mine, but I get to buy it for demo pricing. This is my showroom. We're showing this on video. People visit all the time. They come listen, come see. And so I have the Core Series studio monitors at my studio down the street. I have Contour home theater in my home theater in the house. I've got Dynaudio in-ceilings and outdoor speakers in my patio, and then I've got the Dynaudio sort of Contour heritage set up here outside in the garage. So I've got a pretty good understanding of the product line, and I can't explain my love affair with it, but I just have it. I just do. And so the equipment's in here. And traditionally speaking, the equipment really wouldn't work very well in a metal cabinet like this. It would get too hot. Couple of things to keep in mind. We're air conditioned in here. This cabinet has quite a bit of volume. It's pretty large. And then these amplifiers are Class D. And so they run really, really cool. And so the way I have it set up, now remember, I needed to go to I needed to go to a receiver. I'm an NAD dealer. I really don't have access. I mean, I guess I could just buy whatever I wanted retail. But I wanted to run NAD in here because NAD is my favorite garage audio solution. NAD is equipped, and I'll show you in a minute, with Blue OS. And so the Blue OS will integrate with the rest of my house. I have the M33 NAD integrated DAC in my office. I have the M17, which is the preamp, in my home theater. I have the multi-zone, the custom install version, the 580 CI in my patio outside with some of the amplifiers there. The 8-150, CI 8-150 is what I have outside there, powering that setup. And so I wanted to have full Blue OS capability. I'm putting a couple of Blue sound speakers in my master bath for listening to podcasts. And so I want the whole system to be connected and communicating. And so same thing with the garage. And so I want to do NAD, which has Blue Sound equipped. So it's Blue OS equipped, so the Blue OS operating system. The receiver here is 85 watts per channel, not enough power to power these really inefficient speakers. It works. It sounded okay. Actually ran it for a little bit. But if I'm going to spend all this money on these speakers and I want to get any kind of output out of them, if I want to maximize their performance, I do need a separate amplifier. So I spent the $2,400, $4,800 on this to get out of the speakers what I was hoping to accomplish. I didn't go to Master Series, so this is Master Series level amplification, but in a black box that isn't quite as high end. So the C298 center channel powered, so I'm using this as a monoblock. So this is doing 640 watts at 4 ohms. Bridge, so bridge down to a single mono channel. And then the stereo amp is 320, roughly half of that, 320 watts at 4 ohms for the Heritage Specials. So Heritage Specials, center channel, and then I'm using only 2 channels of the NAD, the 758, so it ought to be able to direct all of its current capability to the rear speakers because I'm only driving 2 channels. So the peak power capability of the receiver I'm going to use as much as it can handle, as much as it can output to the rear speakers. So we've got a really well amplified system, really quality amplified system, super clean, super nice, not super high end depending on what your definition of that is. So this equipment isn't at the level of the speakers, but it's appropriate for what I'm trying to accomplish here. So we pre-wired this, and I'm actually working on the wiring on this shelf here for all of my lighting stuff. But we should be fine with keeping the doors closed at all times. I ran an HDMI, 6-meter HDMI cable through the top of the cabinet, and we brought power in through the bottom of the cabinet so that way we don't have any parallel lines running right next to each other to end up with any kind of interference or noise. And so this setup here stays in the cabinet, out of the way, and theoretically I wouldn't even need to open the door. I guess if I was jamming on for hours and hours, I'd probably open the cabinet just to get a little bit of ventilation. Worst case, I could put a fan in the top of the cabinet, but I don't think I'll ever need to do that. So operation-wise, if I were to wanted to listen to music, if we pull this up here, show you the Blue OS app. I've shown you this many, many times, but since this is its own video, so let me go back. So here's my house. So here's the garage. This is the 758. Here's the left pool area, the NAD. This is my home theater, then the outdoor kitchen, and then the right pool area. And then I also have a hub set up in my living room for the Ambio speaker, and then the master bath will show up in here as well at some point. I'm actually putting some flex speakers in the shower, and then doing their I forget what I'm doing, the pulse, the pulse in the master bath, just because I don't want to run speaker wire. It's too much of a pain. And so if we're going to listen in the garage here, now I can't play this music, but this is then I have connected to my Tidal account, and this is kind of my setup. So I have all my favorite songs that I'm listening to all the time, and I'm getting full, see the little squiggle line? That means that it's MQA, or master quality audio. One could argue that MQA is compressed. It's a theoretical, slightly lossy, but theoretical lossless, but it's a lossy compression algorithm. But and again, in the garage here, I don't think it's really going to matter. I like MQA. I like Tidal. I like MQA. I like the interface. And the Blue OS app actually creates better mixes than the darn Tidal app does of Tidal. And so if I were going to listen to something, I would check to see, is it MQA? Can't play it because we'll get copyright striked. But when I play this here, let's just mute it and see it says MQA there. It's just telling me we're getting master quality audio. So the cool thing about Blue OS is that the Blue OS functionality, the player is in the box in that cabinet there. This is just a remote control. So I'm getting full high-res streaming capability over the internet, which is fantastic. So let's play some music here. I've got one of Bryce's buddies, Seth Baker, so we can play his music. And he gave us permission to do this. This is kind of dumb, but I know you're going to yell at me if I don't freaking play some music for you. So we'll play that, and then I'll talk about Dirac. Let me switch over. So this isn't going to be MQA. So inside of Spotify, I can select via AirPlay. So I'm going to AirPlay this system here. So this won't be as high of quality, but I'm on the same network. Again, I don't have to set any of this up. It's super simple. It's all like idiot proof, total DIY. And then it works every time. That's the magic of it. The only thing I can't do from my phone is switch between, and I can't do this wirelessly, is switch between modes. So right now I'm in PCM stereo, so I'm gonna have the pair of stereo speakers playing. And I'll probably just leave it that way, or I'll probably leave it in enhanced stereo mode on the NAD. So right now we have the subwoofer and the 2 speakers playing. is on me right here. And the middle. So one of the best parts about taking and complementing a bright room, here we have metal cars, glass, I've got garage doors, we've got concrete floors, concrete walls. The height of the ceiling creates quite a bit of slap echo. And so using a silk dome, really high-end speaker helps to offset some of that. But I get it, 100% get it. I get it more than most, if not anybody. I get that this is not the world's best listening environment, but I don't care. I want really cool stuff. What's up, buddies? This versus something cheap still sounds way better than the cheap thing in a crappy acoustic room. Now, once I acoustic treat this, it's actually gonna be really good. It's gonna work really, really well. Still not as good as like a living room with like drapes and stuff on the walls and carpeting, but maybe I should put a carpet in here, what do you think? But it's freaking good. So if I go to 5-channel stereo, now these are playing, the center channel's playing. Make sure. Yep. Look at this thing. This subwoofer's no joke, man. That's cool. So you get the idea there. Now, the cool thing about consumer electronic control is that if I press the button, my Apple TV is in the box here. The Apple TV turns on because the Apple TV is RF. I'm surprised it works through the cabinet, the metal cabinet. So I actually have it up here in this, tucked up in the corner there. So to get power to the TV, the problem is a block wall. And so to get power to the TV, we had to run up the shelf, and then I made the shelf deep enough so I have a little umbilical cord running on the top next to the wall so we can't see it. And then there's the 3 wires, so I have HDMI coming from, so the way it's set up is HDMI comes from Apple TV, so I have a 4-meter Velux metric cable, comes from the Apple TV to the display. And then from the HDMI ARC or eARC, enhanced audio return channel. So I have a 6-meter Velux cable running back to the T758 into the ARC input, or actually it's technically the output of the 758. So I'm not doing any video switching through the 758. It just functions so much better. I find there's never any handshake issues. So because with eARC, we can now send lossless Dolby Digital through and DTS through HDMI, there's no reason to use video switching in the receiver anymore and deal with the handshaking problems. And so the magic of this, if I want to turn the system off, I hold the button down, it turns the receiver off, turns the Apple TV off, turns the TV off without any programming, without any $700,000 remote. I don't love the ergonomics of the Apple TV remote, but I've gotten used to it. I have one in the living room, I have one in the home theater, I have one here. And so it just, you get kind of used to it. But when I want to watch something, I press the button, When I want to listen to something, I'm going to use my phone. I don't need to touch any of this. But when I want to watch something, it switches, changes the input in the TV to HDMI 4, turns the audio on or turns the receiver on, and then I can go and watch, whatever I want to watch. And I'll just leave it default to, Dolby Surround, and then if it's digital, or if it's, DTS, or if it's, whatever version of the highest resolution signal will send to the TV, to the display. So when you're setting up, just to help you out if you're not into this game, I've finally figured this out. So set this to 4K SDR, Chroma 444, turn your match content and dynamic range match and match frame rate on, and then if something is recorded or outputting in Dolby Vision, it'll send Dolby Vision. But it won't do any kind of, the Apple TV won't do any kind of upconverting. The other thing that I highly suggest on the Apple TV is go to remotes and turn the click to click only. If you do click and touch, this thing gets really annoying. And half the time you end up scrolling past what you want. So I turn it to click only. That makes a big difference. With audio, there really isn't anything you need to do with audio. The audio output should just be native. Let's see, what do they call it? Yeah, to your receiver. Just auto, auto output. Atmos is on as well. So the great part about this system like this is that you probably don't have to set this up, but make sure this is home theater control is turned on. That's where your consumer electronic control gets set up. So then the last thing I did to the system to set the system up is, and close this, is to do the Dirac room calibration. It works way better on a PC. For some reason, I find that when I do it on my Mac, there is a Mac version of the Dirac software. When you do it on the Mac, it has a tendency to attenuate the signal or not give you maximum volume output. So I just found it had much better. I literally bought this laptop, this junk Dell, which I think still costs like $1,500. I bought this Dell just for doing Dirac calibrations. So I ran like 10 different measurements, 10 different locations. I put the little remote control or the little microphone. So a lot of people will buy a nicer microphone, but I'm using the mic that comes with it. So I take the little mic and then I put it on the tripod and I move it around the different areas to do the calibration. It takes about 20 minutes to do it. And then what I do, because I don't like bright and I'm in a bright room, and so then I kind of tweak how what the frequency response is going to look like. So Dirac will give us, so this is my version of this. Actually, let me save this before I lose it. Make sure I save this project. And so one thing you want to take into consideration is that you never want the curve to be more than 10 dB different than the actual measured output. You can end up with popping or bottoming out of the speaker, especially on the low side, low frequency. So you always want to stay within 10 dB, and so you can take these little control points and drag them where you need it. But I usually calm down. You can see 2.4, 3.2, 4.1. So I tend to roll off the high frequency decibel or the high frequency output following the curve, but I'm going to unflatten my frequency response, and in a perfect world, the speaker would have a flat frequency response. This is pretty flat for a speaker, all the way up to 21,000 kilohertz, or 21,000 hertz. So I go through and kind of adjust the speakers. Same thing with my center channel. So I'm going to roll my high frequency stuff off about 3 to 4 dB by the time I get to the peak frequency. I'm going to generally kind of shoot the middle on the low frequency stuff, because if you add too much gain to the, I guess it's not gain, but if you allow too much, I guess it would be gain. Let's just call it gain. So if you add too much signal or whatever, too much boost or whatever to the bass, you'll bottom out your speakers, and they won't sound very good. So same thing in the rears. So the rears, rolling those off on the high side, trying to keep it somewhat flat. So 99% of this is done for you, and then you can just kind of tweak it and play with it a little bit. I think I made a video showing you how I do this, but we probably have that somewhere. And then subwoofer, notice, so the subwoofer I found was, there was a little bit too much output, and so it had defaulted to like plus 3 dB, and so I brought it down to plus 1, so it's about flat. And so our subwoofer in this room measured, so we're playing from 16 hertz up to about, it's rolling off at around 100 is where our filter is set up, 130. So not a lot of output above, I guess it does have a decent amount of output. Maybe I'd want to pull that filter over. It sounds good, so I don't want to mess with it. So that direct calibration helps to make the whole system sound a little bit better. I'd love to play a movie for you, but that's not going to work. So that's my system. Total retail cost of this was $24,370. Add 5,000 bucks for acoustic treatments, and you're at 30 G's. So I get it. I understand. I don't know what to say. I didn't mean to set out for it to be that much. You know, I had these speakers, so that was 7,000 of it. I had those on the shelf that haven't been selling very many of those. I ordered the center channel as a demo, so I don't pay that price for it, but I think I would still, if this was going to be my garage and this was going to be my place, you could get here for half this. Do Evokes. Evokes are 2,200 bucks instead of 7,000. Do an Evokes center, which is 1,800 bucks instead of 4,200 bucks. Do with that Evokes, instead of doing the two C298s, skip that and upgrade the receiver. You could get away with that receiver, but do the T778 with the Evokes. Skip the rear speakers. So we could do this level of a system. Don't do the Signature Series Sony, just do a base LCD, like a mini LED from LG for 2,000 bucks less. So we could shave 10, 12, $15,000 off of this and get a very similar result. Don't do the core sub. Let's do a sub 18S for 1,800 bucks instead of 4,000. So again, I could get you a really world-class system for less than 10 G's, or we can do a set of just do a pair of speakers, do the PSBs for the other day we were doing a video with was it 950 bucks, and it's freaking amazing. So you don't have to do this. This is my thing. This is my frivolous, hobby, if you will. And I think most of us have them. This and carbon ceramic brakes are my two things that happen to be the two most expensive things. So, but I did want to show you how the system came out. This is the best system I've done in a garage to date. And if I can help you with this stuff, I'd love to share that with you. Shoot me an email, matt@obsessedgarage.com. Go to obsessedgarage.com, go to the garage audio section. We've built all kinds of pre-configured packages from 500 bucks up to this. Or I'm sure we can do better than this if you wanted to. I can also help you with some home theater stuff on the brands that I love. And there's a few brands that I love that probably would never let me sell the stuff in my current form without a showroom. But someday I'd love to chase Macintosh and maybe find another couple of speaker brands to represent. But anyway, the stuff we have now is my favorite stuff. NAD, especially on the streaming side of thing, and I've fallen in love with it on the home theater side. In that mid-end, even the Master Series is still sort of low, high-end, mid-end stuff. And then Dynaudio has speakers at all levels. You could do emits all the way up to confidence stuff. So we'd love to help you with that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I guess it's appropriate to say stay tuned for more crazy. I get it. This is a crazy system, but it makes me smile, and what more can you ask for in this world? Thanks for watching.